Hello Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout, and today was Max Effort Press Day. And just a quick reminder for those of you who watch these vlogs every day, please click like down below. We want to get the likes higher than the dislikes, and only you guys can make that happen, and I know you guys enjoy these or you wouldn't watch them every single day. Even if you hate me, you still like these vlogs or you wouldn't watch them. So please click that like, it would be greatly appreciated, and let's keep the likes higher than the dislikes. Now, you guys just saw the random number generator. What's up with that? I literally got like the next one down on the list from what I got before. But we're going to roll with it. You know what? Because it's not the exact same lift. We don't want to repeat the same lift. That would actually qualify for changing it. We got a pretty close lift though. Floor press again with just a slightly lighter chain weight. Slightly lighter chain weight. So I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and just do it. That's what the generator kicked out. It's close enough I almost felt like changing it, but I decided to roll with it. And I was pretty happy with it. Got a pretty good lift, even though it's 33 pounds of chains. And I know there's a possibility because of the floor press, they're not going to be perfectly up and down. So we're not going to take all the chain weight off and get all of it up at the top. Because it's just a slightly shorter range of motion than any other lift. And I don't want to quarter the chains, they're already at thirds. But it's close enough as long as we're consistent on all of these lifts. And, you know, next time we get around to that same lift again, we have the same amount of chain. Because you guys notice the chain is not completely unloaded at the bottom. There's still some chain on the bar. So it's not pure bar weight at the bottom like we would get on a squat. And there's an inch or two of chain still there. So it's hard to tell. That might be a pound. I don't know. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Main thing is that we get the PR. And I was happy with this lift. 295 on a closed grip floor press. Considering my max thus far with this exact lift recently with just straight weight was 315. 295 with 33 pounds of chains. All right, well, what is that? Assuming a little bit taken off, that's what? About 325 at the lockout. And it was challenging, like it was grindy. Look at that, I was grindy. Now, we would see that and say, man, that looks like tricep weakness. Well, partially because of the chains, partially because I lose so much power out of the bottom on the floor press. I felt my pecs and my delts a lot. Now, that doesn't mean we don't keep training triceps. Triceps are going to be a high priority no matter what. Because I know structurally my triceps are one of the smaller muscles in my upper body. I know they tend to be a weak link in my pressing. So we're always going to do tricep work at the end. We might get to a point where we do a bunch of dips for tricep work if we feel like we need more and more chest. But I'm going to keep hitting the triceps anyways. Interestingly enough, on my close grip presses today, and I varied these, I kept the weight the same, but I changed my grip width an inch or two back and forth. Some of these I went out an inch wider than normal. Some of them I went with my thumbs all the way almost an inch inside the smooths. So we varied it a lot just to get some variability because I'm doing these so often. So I'm pretty much doing like a 5x10 every single upper body day on the close grip press. I do want to change it around to make sure we don't start getting close to overuse issues. And worst come to worst, I have the football bar. I can always swap bars. But a close grip press is going to be a mainstay. I need it. I know that's where I need the technique work, the bar path work. It's where I need to put on meat. It's going to make me stronger at all my pressing. And since I'm going to close or medium grip only from here on, this will again really build that base back up. And I can always swap bars. You know, again, that's the other thing to remember. If we're worried about some overuse, I can swap bars. Not a big deal. But these were challenging. I think on one of these, I think I only got 9 reps on one of them for sure. And I noticed I really felt my chest and delts. I didn't feel any triceps on these today, which tells me all the tricep work is probably paying off, because it's making my other muscles become the weaker links on my close grip. And that's fine. That's what we want. Because if I know the triceps need work and they get bigger and stronger because I keep making them a high priority and I get stronger at some of these lifts, then the other muscles will grow also. And keep everything moving forward. It's all about the flow of it. But I also realized today, I feel like the overhead pressing, as much as I like it and as much as I think it's valuable, I don't know if it's the best exercise to put in the slot. I don't know if that's where my priority needs to be, because I know I need a little more chest. Yes, I know I need a lot of delt. but I could stand a little bit of more chest work, and I need to be able to just get more tension and more hypertrophy through everything. So as I thought about it, I realized the rest of my delt's not a super high priority. I can always do face pulls, and I do tons of chins, and I can do face pulls, and I have been doing some. They'll all grow. Maybe I should do some incline, because I know I'm really, really weak at incline benching. So I decided to work in some incline today, and it was hard. It was really hard after doing this. After doing my sets of these, it was tough. And it makes me realize maybe some incline is what I really need to do. And I did it for a while, and I didn't like it because it was stalling, and I'm like, I made excuses. I'll just go back to overhead pressing. But I do notice overhead pressing does put a lot of fatigue on my shoulder, especially with a lot of volume. And I do need to make sure I keep my shoulders healthy. And it's not to say that I'm not going to work it back in. I'll go back and forth probably. But maybe for me, incline pressing in general is going to fill my strength deficiencies in better. Because I've already hit a 227.5 strict press like over a year ago. You guys have seen me do 225 quite a few times on a standing press. I'm pretty strong on that. But the incline does represent a good deficiency for me. So maybe I need to put a little bit of priority in it. Maybe I need to put some priority in it. And it's certainly not going to hurt. I mean, if we're going to add accessory presses for our shoulders, I don't think an incline bench is a bad choice. It's a great delt exercise. That's always been my argument with the incline with a lot of people, is that they feel that it's this phenomenal chest exercise. I don't know that it is. Yeah, it hits the upper chest and even the mid chest quite a bit, but it doesn't beat the floor press or the dip or anything else when it's looked at even in EMGs. Right? Those hit the upper chest just as hard. But if you want a really good shoulder dominant exercise, it still hits the upper chest. I think it's a good choice. And it's got a nice long range of motion. It creates more range of motion, therefore it's going to be easy to recover from, because we're forced to use a lighter weight. It is working another movement pattern that I could probably stand to build up from, which again will help with overall hypertrophy. So I decided let's go ahead and do it. And it was tough. I wasn't able to get 5 sets of 10 with 185. Now I know 4 people said, didn't you build up to where you did like 8 with 225? Yeah. But that was a lot more fresh. That was a lot more fresh. When I've hit a max and then 5 sets of close grip presses, I'm fatigued. This is hard, even with 185. I think at least 2 of these sets were only 8 reps. I'm not going to get an exact count through here. It doesn't matter, because I got at least 10 on one of them, and I know 2 of them I only got 8. And I think one of them I got like 9. So it ended up, instead of being a 5 by 10, it ended up being like 8 to 10. But I think with some practice, it'll go up. And it's not going to be phenomenal, guys, because number one, I'm kind of weak at incline benching. Kind of weak at it. Number 2, I'm really fatigued by the time I get to it. And that's fine, because we're not treating it like a main exercise. It's a supplemental lift. It's about creating fatigue. And it doesn't matter if I'm weak at it. The only way to get stronger at it is to do it and to push sets hard, push them to my limits. And yes, I did it close grip. Why? Because I need the tricep. And it creates a longer range of motion. Look how long that range of motion is, even with the size of my chest and rib cage. Which when I do the others today, when you guys see the angle today, people will realize when I say that I've got a big rib cage, they understand. Because it's like I can touch my chest on a floor press. I don't have short arms. Just my rib cage is that big. And even with my rib cage, though, look at the range of motion there when I take that close grip on the incline. That's one reason the incline does turn out to be a really good hypertrophy exercise. It has to do with the range of motion. It's not that the angle is so really great for your chest. Like, that's kind of a myth. It really isn't all that amazing. It's the fact that we have to move everything through a really long range of motion. A lighter weight forces you to do a lot of work with your chest and with your delts. It's a lot of work. But, it does hit the anterior delts ridiculously hard. And so again, if we want to bring delts up, good exercise. And it is working the chest. I felt a lot of chest on it, actually. But my chest was also really fatigued from the close grip. So this is probably a good combination. If I just want to develop all my pressing muscles, it's a good combination. It's a good combination to do 5 sets of close grip and then 5 sets of incline. I think that will handle everything. That'll handle all my shoulder and chest needs for pressing. Because that's 10 sets in a workout. And it's not like we're not going to come back and do it again in 2 days. Because this is really high frequency. But I felt everything really lit up. It was a lot of work, a lot of quality work, in spite of the fact that I'm forced to use 185 at this point in the workout. Yeah, and I know, guy my size, that's silly. But that's what I can handle. And we're getting stimulation, so we live with it. It's fine. This is what happens when you're doing really high volume training on the back end of your stuff. We generate fatigue, and that fatigue builds muscle. Builds muscle. But what was interesting to me is that I felt no tricep at all. Almost no tricep on this. Because everything else is doing so much work, I didn't feel any. So we know that we've got to come in and finish those triceps off. So it's none of this, oh, let's do 3 sets of triceps. No, we needed to do 5 full sets. Because I did feel them on some of the close grip pressing. I didn't really feel them on the floor press. Didn't feel them on the incline. Because the delts and upper and middle chest actually were doing so much work. Triceps had a lot left. But that's a good thing, because if they are no longer the weak link in a lift like this, then we can get stronger at it easier. And then the muscles we are trying to target are going to get better stimulation, because the triceps aren't a weak link at that point. I decided to put the chains a little lower down on this today, and I just wanted to see if that felt a little different. What I noticed, though, is that I didn't get a very minimal long head activation. Because you guys notice the chains they kick in only at like the top half to top 40%. And there's only that bar and the weight at the bottom where the long head's getting that stretch. So it ended up being really, really a lockout dominant movement. Now, my triceps got lit up. I really, really felt a tremendous amount of work, especially as I got to failure on the sets in that whole lateral and medial head, which we need for benching. But that long head is getting shortchanged a little bit, and I do need to make sure it grows. I do need to make sure it gets stimulation. So I might have some days where I come in and do some straight weight with this instead of chains. I just don't want to overdo that, because what we want to avoid is that tendonitis we can get. But I think with this really narrow grip, and if I take it behind my head correctly, I think we can stave that off if we keep lightweight and just get a lot of volume with it. But the long head didn't feel as much as I get a lot of times with chains, when I have the chains further up closer and then there's more weight at the bottom. And I used a pretty hefty amount of chain today. And like I said, the triceps still got a lot of work, like tremendous amount of work. Just that long head maybe didn't. Now, is that really that big of a deal? Probably not, because I know my medial and lateral head need the work for the benching. That's really, especially that medial head. A lot of times on my really heavy benching, sometimes I feel that medial head really lighting up when I miss a bench. So it does need work. So I'm okay with that for today, for this workout. I'm okay with that. It's just that with me removing the overhead pressing, I know that lateral head is going to get less work. The only real work I'm getting for it are these tricep movements and my daily chin-ups. I do want to make sure that it's enough. But I can definitely have days like today where I just focus on this, which is really just going to be purely bench dominant in terms of what tricep heads it hits. And I'm okay with that. It didn't give me quite that deep burn with that cramp I get in the long head a lot of times after. And I felt it more in those lower 2 heads. Is that really a big deal? Probably not. Like I said, not a big deal. Because we don't feel something doesn't matter always that much. It just means we got less of that stretch reflex at the bottom because we unloaded the weight so much down there. Now, remember though, what's the upside to that? We're not going to get any issues with connective tissue inflammation. Because the bottom of those movements, if you're not careful, that's where you develop that inflammation in the tendons up at the elbow. So there's still a bonus there. And if it ends up making the lateral and medial head get a little more work, and they're the ones that develop from it, that's fine, because my bench will go up from it. But some of the other pressing strength that might need more long head might not go up as much. So it's all a trade-off, guys. And I might just stick with doing something like this. I might just look at that for a while and say, you know what, that doesn't matter. Let's just get the triceps stronger on all my chest presses. That's what matters. And I could take that approach with it. Or I could work some of the other end. And I'll work it around. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're just trying to make sure that the triceps are getting an enormous amount of workload off the back end of the pressing sessions, making sure that they grow so that they get as thick as possible so that we get thick as peanut butter all the way around. Because it's a good type of fat. Because that's what work mode's about. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.